Let's see, I'm trying to put the live chat. Let's see. It's no live chat. There it is. Paste. All right. All right, let's see what we can do here. So if anybody wants to come in that hasn't been on before, I thought it'd be a good time just to jump on and see if there's anyone that's never been on before that would like to come out and play. Sue Baxter Fitz, I think that means you. Chris Jelly, what's going on? Long time no see. Anybody wants to come on, just click the Taryn Warren, come on. Click that link that you see at the top of the screen, but it's also on the live chat on YouTube, and it's on my Todd Medina Facebook page, comments. Yeah, Sue Baxter Fitz. Got some nice tunes from Ty Hudnall there in the background. Looks like we got somebody in here. Let's see. Here we go. Who we got here? Who we got here? Anybody there? Well, they came and left. Okay, back to the music. Let's see. It looks like Judy's in the house. She's bundled up like on Mount Everest. Chris Jelly, in the zone. Poetry lets you dig and consolidate. Super profound. Yeah, the creativity and the artistic expressions are definitely coming to the surface. I think it's part of how we kind of capture the alignment. Let me see if I can fix the screen here. Okay, this should be like that. This should be, let's see. All right, back to this. Oops. All right. Keisha, Julianne, Sophia Grace, Elizabeth Appledore, anyone that's Chris Jelly, anyone that hasn't been on before, I'm going to take about the next hour to offer anyone that's never been on before to come on. Just click that link that's at the top of this screen, or it's in the live comments on my page on Facebook and on the YouTube live chat. Yeah, any of y'all that have never been on before, come on out and let's play. Yeah? Yeah, good tunes by our brother Ty Hudnall. He's been putting out a lot of content. If you go to his page, he's usually putting 2 or 3 things out every day. Very interesting stuff. Very chill. It's got a lot of archives, so you might want to check it out. Anybody want to come out and play? Somebody just came in a minute ago, but they wouldn't show their face. I don't know who it was. But yeah, anybody wants to come on, just click the screen, click the link and come on in and let's sit down and have a conversation. Here we go. All right. I guess I could play videos if nobody shows up. But anybody that's never been on, we can always open it up to people that have been on, but let's try to get some people on here that have never been on. And even if we just talk for a few minutes. Elizabeth, all you got to do, you'd be awesome to talk to. Elizabeth, all you got to do is go into your, on your phone or your computer and just open up Google and click that link and just put it in your address bar and click it. It'll bring you right in. Okay, we got somebody here. We got Sophia. What's happening? Can you hear me? Sophia, can you hear me?
Todd, what's happening?
What's happening
with you?
Let
me get myself situated, dude. I've been playing cop today. I've been playing law enforcement today.
Really? What happened? Why is that? What happened?
Hold on, we have a lag. Yeah. Let me turn the TV down.
Oh yeah, you have that. Yeah, you have to turn that off. Yeah, you're good.
All right,
Here,
Todd.
let me put this name for you here. Sophia.
You've seen me for many years. You've been watching and observing me, and it just seems like that folks really are not really happy with me, even if I'm nice to them. Even around here, it just seems like today is the day of love, and so I'm just trying to stay in the love vibration. My phone says 641 and 12%, and I really love people. I love humanity, and I just want to show up and just tell everybody Happy Valentine's Day to you and Morgan. Happy Valentine's Day to my children, which I've already told them. But I do have a serious matter at hand. My oldest showed up today, Rosie. You know Eva Rosie. She showed up, and we have some real death threats. My Instagram got hacked.
Really?
The people were asking her $500. Yeah, $500. That I look weird. I look like I'm looking at the wrong way, but y'all just bear with me. It's okay. Yeah, she has screenshots, and I got a call. I got a knock on the door at 3:37 this morning. Now, I've been having dreams, and I have intuition, and I have a lot of people that are supporting me and helping me and the girls behind the scenes. Now, I'm not crazy, and I'm not making this stuff up.
We don't think you're crazy.
3:37 a.m. My daughter did a wellness check on me. No, well, thank y'all, because thank God somebody believes in me. And the girls, because we matter, We just try to show up and make the world a better place. And we love all y'all. From the bottom of my heart and my girls' hearts, we love y'all. And we appreciate y'all, because y'all been there for us. Y'all proven trust to us. Y'all seen my journey and my experience and how people have interacted with us at times. And that's okay. Everybody has their own journey. But I will say this is for real now. This is for the record. The local police department did show up at my house today and knocked at 3:37 a.m. I got woke up out of deep sleep. And my heart was pounded because I've been saying this stuff was going to happen. And lo and behold, it happened. And they said, Miss Connie, Eva Rose sent us to check on you. And I said, can I trust you? And they said, are you safe? And I said, yes, I'm safe. They said, do you need us at this time? I said, not at this time, but can I trust you? Because I was going to open up the door, but I was scared to open up the door because the police, and some of them was nice and some of them wasn't nice. Now, I can't go into detail because this is legal matters that we're talking about. It's big time news. It's called disclosure, and y'all are going to be real surprised how the story goes, because I'm even surprised how it's all turning out. It's bigger than I thought. Now, Todd, you know that my daddy died, and this people was intimidating me today in the laundry room, and I think I figured out who a lot of the culprits were. Wow. They was acting really, my frequency's real high. And when my frequency is high,
we can tell you're burning up the the signal. Go ahead.
Okay, let me clear the signal.
No, you're good. We got this.
Clear the
this
signal.
is Soulogy.
Okay.
It clears itself. We'll be all right.
Let me send around my energies.
Here, let's
okay.
Let's shift gears.
It does. 13%, 644.
Yeah,
All right.
let's shift gears and we'll come back to you in a minute, Sophia, because we have another friend here that I've seen the name out there. Anya, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, yeah,
Anya,
that's right. Anya,
where?
yeah.
Hello, it's great to meet you. Where are you from?
I live in New Zealand, but I'm originally from Germany.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, so I'm down under just on my break.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. That
And
was so
super
cool that you.
excited.
Yeah, so cool that you popped in. What is your last name? Because I think it starts with an S, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
So
Streepke.
yeah, I've
But
seen you out there just like Sophia for
yeah,
many many years.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, very cool. Uh, yeah, so it's nice to meet you. You're in New Zealand, and Sophia, where are you at? What part of the country are you in?
Beaumont, Texas, the Golden Triangle. Now that's official. That's what it's called, the
Oh,
Golden
that's right.
Triangle.
That's right.
And
You're in
we
Beaumont.
also
Yeah,
have a little known.
you're cutting out. Hey, you know,
Yeah,
you're right
yeah,
down the road
yeah.
from me right
Hey, we
now.
have a Rainbow Bridge here, 30
Yeah.
minutes from me. Where are you?
Uh, it looks
Okay,
like
sounds good to me. Well,
I'm in
Anya, it's
I'm
so
in
good to
Houston.
see you, sister.
Here, let me ask everyone if the sound is
What?
okay. Here, let me see. Let me know, everyone out there, if the sound's okay. Somebody's saying that it's cutting out, but I don't think that's everybody. Uh,
Sophia is cutting out for me, but I can
yeah,
hear you
Sophia's
well.
cutting out. Yeah, definitely, Sophia's
Yeah.
cutting out. Her signal's a little weak. Anya, what's going on with you? What's happening with you? It sounds like Sophia's got her hands full, but I think a lot of people do energetically right now. How are things going for you, Anya, in New Zealand?
Well, that's a big question. Um, well, right now I have to get over my nervousness that I just like spontaneously
Yeah,
decided to
don't be
hop on.
nervous. You're good.
Oh God. Yeah, what's happening? A lot of shifting and churning is happening.
Yeah.
I I I feel a bit on the front seat sometimes because as a therapist I see a lot of people every day, and so I get this direct intel every day from where people are at, which is super exciting and very interesting. These whole last months have been astonishing, really. Like
Really?
people really making huge changes all of a sudden, where their life shifts around completely, like 180 degrees, and
I think.
or the opposite. They dive in real deep and are at a totally stuck place right now. But it all feels very big at the moment, for sure.
Now, are you a conventional therapist, or are you like us, like so many people here, like a energy practitioner, or both?
I would say both. I'm
Okay.
sort of in disguise a little bit. Like I'm a conventional therapist in that I have my private practice,
Yeah.
I get the clients sent to me. I have a sort of a background of Gestalt therapy and art
Okay.
therapy. So I'm doing a conventional thing. However, my job really, as I see it, is just to hold space. A bit like you really, Todd.
Yeah.
Like I'm just here to witness people's authentic expression and cherish that, and
Um,
really support people to see themselves in their beauty. That's
yeah.
what I see.
Well, I think what you're saying is that, if I hear you correctly, that you said it's been astonishing or exciting. It sounds like the last couple of weeks that so many people are, or at least from your perspective, it looks like so many people are waking up.
Yeah, I'd say
Like,
the last half year,
yeah.
I think since the last, was it solstice?
Solstice.
Would have been December. Since sort of
Uh,
mid-December or so, I feel like, no, when was it? September. I forget
okay.
when it was.
Yeah.
The last half year.
Yeah. Paula, Anya is originally from Germany, and somebody just came in, but they left. We had somebody else coming in, but they left. Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I would love to find out more about this. Now, are you like a psychotherapist by
Yeah.
Okay, and then so you, because we had someone on the other day that was, I can't remember what they were. They were like a social, counselor in the
Right.
social, and yeah, and they were talking about the same thing. There was actually two of them, and I think one of them was actually a clinical psychotherapist, and then how they were talking about that they were applying their gifts to their typical or stereotypical profession. So when you see clients, are you able to see their field? Are you able to kind of like scan them, or how do you? Are you just
Yeah, I would say I'm clairsentient. I don't see auras or anything, but I feel very intensely what other people are feeling. So one of the main things I use is my own body, and that I can feel what the other is feeling, so I'm able to reflect back to them what they might not be aware of. Like sometimes I feel the stuff that other people
okay?
don't want to feel or are not feeling
Okay.
yet. And so I can trace in a very psychological way. I don't go into esoteric things with my clients unless they want to. I
Yeah,
really follow
but
their
yeah,
lead, where what their beliefs is. I go there with them.
but at some level, you're either uh, well alluding to them or something that you are picking up, like as an empath.
Yeah,
You're somewhere or another, gently, depending on what their background is. You're kind of inputting your abilities. So you might say to them, "Are you feeling such and such?" Because you're feeling it,
yeah,
right? So
that's
you don't.
right.
I guess you don't necessarily have to tell them that's what's happening. You could just say, "Oh, like maybe they think you're guessing or you're smart or whatever." But so
Yeah.
you've seen it.
Well, I explain to them that I feel a lot. I do,
Okay,
and like the basic thing I explain usually is that I'm not the person who knows everything. I'm just there with them,
right,
and I just happen to be very empathic. And so I think especially when it comes to trauma, which is what most people are coming for, they're coming to me because they're seeking help. They're seeking support with something that they are stuck in, that is repetitive in their lives. And basically, they kind of come knowing that there's more to them that they are not living.
right,
And and so very often I find that people are sort of half out of their body, sort of a bit dissociated.
right.
Um, my main field of expertise is emotions.
Hmm.
Um, so when I notice that someone isn't quite honest to themselves or is trying not to feel something, I basically try to establish the safety around that as to what do they need in order to feel safe enough in themselves to feel this particular thing that will give them the clue as to what's happening for them.
Wow.
So when I notice someone is dissociated, I usually go really dizzy and I struggle to focus and I'm like, oh my God, but they might not even notice that. So I might say, oh, I'm feeling really disembodied right now. Am I picking this up from you? Of course, I know that I am, but I will gently place it back to them. And often
How
they go, oh, yeah, you're right. And
how
then they
long?
notice.
I'm just curious. How long? How do you spell your last name?
STRIEPKE.
Uh, okay. I got such a good memory. Yeah, I'm going to put your name over here. Somebody was asking what your last name is, so I'll put it here. What were you just saying? I had a question, and I was finishing that part up. God. Okay.
Dissociation, or that I help
Oh no
people
no
to.
no! I was going to ask you, how long have you been like this? How long have you been like certified? In the Earth world, And how long have you been? How long after that did you start applying your skills to your profession?
Right. I think well, you could say I've had some rigorous schooling very early in life because I grew up in different countries.
Mm.
Among them Nepal, which is where I spent many
Wow.
years with my parents,
Wow.
and in West Africa, in Cameroon.
Mm.
And so very early in life, I had to get used to understanding people, observing people without knowing the language. I had to get the cultural nuances. I had to find my way as often the only white girl, a white person there.
Really? In Cameroon? Cameroon.
In Cameroon, yeah, we were in the bush there.
Really?
For,
What did your parents do that they were living in these different places?
they
Missionaries?
actually met in Nepal. My mother went there as a nurse,
Okay.
basically to try to get away as far as possible from her own parents back then.
She was a
And
light worker too, huh?
She actually is. She doesn't know it, but she is absolutely very, very empathic. Like, she and I are very alike, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And my dad was in development aid.
Development
Or
aid?
still is. Development
Okay.
aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who
they are really
does he work for the
do-gooders in
UN?
the world.
Does he work for an international aid organization or what?
He used to, for German ones. One is called DED, which
Okay. Yeah.
you may not know.
So that's interesting, though. Being the vast minority, being Anglo and being, because we always hear the other way around, right? I mean, whether it be
Yeah.
African or African Americans, Black, Mexican, Latinos, Asian. I mean, you don't really hear about that much. Was that a challenge for you to because it sounds like you were pretty young.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the challenge was very different, though, because I was always the privileged one.
Okay. Oh.
Money-wise and safety-wise and education-wise, I was very privileged. However, I was repeatedly plunked into environments who would not understand me at all, who would just see my privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And who would, I remember as a child, I had like really white blonde hair. Everyone wanted to touch my hair, wanted to touch me, or there was like, often my boundaries were invaded quite significantly in an attempt to understand the foreignness that I represented.
Right.
But it set me up for a pretty wonky start, sort of once I hit my teenage years, because when we came back to Germany, I was quite screwed up, I would say. Because I didn't have a measure as to what my culture really was, and suddenly not privileged, and also suddenly feeling quite lonely because I wasn't the center of attention anymore. And also having developed all these skills of being really empathic and guessing what people are wanting and needing and what's happening was a skill that was almost not needed then anymore and left me at a loss. So that was when I was like 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
And repeatedly whenever we went back to Germany. So I guess what I'm really saying is that I had an early schooling in terms of being pretty switched on as to what
like
where others are at.
Yeah, like relying on relying on the empathic abilities, because most of the stories you hear, the empathic ability was kind of a weakness because people didn't know how to deal with it. They only knew what they were feeling. And then, as we know, with so many people in the community, they retreated into their cave and just stopped dealing with people. But it sounds like, and then you hear a lot of people now looking at the empathic qualities as being more of a strength now. It's no longer the weakness that it was, because now it's understood, and being that we're consciously living or consciously applying or always expanding awareness that, yeah, it's becoming more stories like yours, I guess. Because it sounds like for you, it is a strength. Like, obviously, it is a strength in your work.
Yes, yes. And I also generally observe that people are appreciating empathy more these days, that that's actually a skill set that is being generally more and more acknowledged, and
Yeah.
it is quite sought after, I think, in all this talk of the narcissistic
Yeah.
global elite, and the we're so numbed down in general that it's
Yeah.
such a requirement, and I think people are really, really becoming aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really interesting how you heard a lot of it in these communities. Back in 2012, 13, 14, 15, it was more prevalent then. You would see empath support groups, or I'm living with a narcissist group, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So there was a lot of talk and there was a lot of support in figuring this stuff out.
Yeah.
But I guess there's been, like an evolution. There's been a change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also due to the world sort of becoming smaller, and that I think we are more in each other's backyards now across countries and continents, and seeing the suffering that's going on, and it just requires this empathy. It requires connecting on a deep level in order to change stuff. Like, if I don't feel for the earth, if I don't feel for you, if I don't feel for my neighbor, nothing is going to change, right?
That's very true. Took a walk last night, early last night, and I was thinking about that same thing. I had been watching something, but that's what it was talking about. That was the whole thing. It was like made me go deeper and go, understanding and knowing that everything's connected is great, but we're here to apply it. So in my conscious thoughts, like in that little walk I took early yesterday evening, I was almost felt not ashamed, but like, oh my God, I just got this now. Like, I started to really, and I have a relationship with Mother Earth, but I don't know. I just went deeper. I thought, God, I'm really not. Almost like you take something for granted.
Yeah.
Or that it's an inanimate object and it's not really there. But I think we actually have to practice this and apply it. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing with embodiment. People talk about embodiment. Oh, I need, and I get that. But I think you actually embody by taking action based on decisions and choices and actions based on your multidimensionality being held in your consciousness and utilized for good measure,
Yeah, exactly. And it needs to be not only, well, it doesn't need to be, but generally it's not only like an intellectual decision, oh, I'm now taking action on this and want to embody this. It's more like, if I feel the impact of something, if I really feel it deeply, then I'm motivated to act on that.
Yeah.
Or that's what it's like for me anyway.
Yeah. Well, and what I was saying that I find so interesting is that, of course, on the individual journey, and this will go for most of us here, but on the individual journey, the identification as an empath, that was one of the first things, right? Where people start going, oh, I feel things when I go places, and then that whole thing started. And then there was the whole dialogue of narcissist empath. And then the way I saw it was, as an empath, I was saying the narcissists stand over there and I'm not like them. So that's still sustaining the separation. And then you start to, well, this is how it went for me anyway. You start to, as we take everything into ourselves, you start to look at yourself and you start to see yourself for all the things that you are, but not from a narcissist perspective. Meaning that I am all of this, right? I am all of this. Um, and I think that, owning, like I had to own, and I don't consider myself a narcissist. Some people might disagree through my life. Maybe I was at times. I don't know. I mean, I was an alpha male in the business world, and I'm sure I didn't listen and I shut people down and such. But until I owned it, but as an empath, I'm a narcissist too. They're the one and the same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I so agree with you, George. And
I
I
mean,
think we all
yeah.
have tendencies where we shut down to
Oh, yeah.
something. Where there was a time, that would have been 2-3 years ago, where I was really confronted with, I believe, a multidimensional aspect of me that was just cold, didn't feel anything for people, and in that space I was quite happy when I felt like that, and because I wasn't bothered with anything.
Right.
But my relationship at the time, like, he was quite disturbed by that. He would, like, every now and then say, Anya, what's going on? Like, what is this? What is this?
I think that's part of the ET characteristics. That's the only way I could put it. Because I, too, have had that same experience or similar, which is there's a particular aspect that has showed itself to me or merged with me or whatever. And it's actually a Syrian aspect. And one of the things I noticed about him was that although he was very much a person or being that got things done, really passionate and devoted, but there was this I don't want to say insensitivity, but like an insensitivity. But then I started to understand that in that environment, they don't have the emotional intelligence that we do here on Earth. And I believe... What's that?
They might not need it there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's been my understanding, has been that here on the Earth, and there's Sophia Grace. Sophia, I don't know what happened with your signal, but it popped out. But my understanding has always been that our emotions are the material for our alchemy here. And although our emotions, the energy of our emotions has been stolen or siphoned, now that we're consciously owning our emotions and feelings and allowing that to be part of our process from a conscious level as opposed to a reactionary level, that it becomes kind of a superpower, kind of like an empath, like you're doing. You're using your sensitivity, your feelings, emotions are in there somewhere, right? To actually expand yourself and your practice and your clients. I like what you said, though. I think what you said was you hold space more than anything.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think that's
and space for all that is. If a narcissistic trait comes out, then I welcome it.
Right.
I'm like, whoa, thanks for showing me that part of you. That's amazing. I feel privileged that I get to that you dare showing this part that you would normally not, that you normally hide.
Well, I read something this morning because there's been so much emphasis. Like, okay, if we go back like a year and 2 years ago, because we were coming into an expanded awareness, you started hearing people say, we got to put up boundaries, and I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I'm just not going to have anything to do with you. So the emphasis was still very external. And I think boundaries are important because it helps you find out who you are. Then you can take the boundaries off. But what I saw yesterday was more of an emphasis, or the way the guy was talking about it, was to be able to look at these things, and I would say I would equate it to listening and observing, but essentially holding space, being present without judgment or prejudice.
Yes.
See, I think what happens here is we're shifting, we're flipping. And so what happened was there was all this focus on what we're looking at. And then when enough of that energy, which we thought wasn't us, brought into ourselves and we start to own it, now the emphasis is becoming, to me, it's becoming everyone needs to speak their truth. It's inevitable. Be your truth, speak your truth, and now us as the observers who are still seeing polarity and duality and divinity can now take a breath and start to look at people again without judgment, without prejudice or bias, so really with a greater compassion. Because here's the thing for me, everybody out there has been through the same damn thing I've been through. So that means we're all cut from the same mold, and like they say, in 5D, there's nothing to forgive. So it's weird. There's like this big blanket coming off of all the issues we've had with each other and people, and they all become obsolete and irrelevant. Because there's a whole new field of frequencies out there that we're swimming in where a lot of this stuff just isn't there.
That's right. I mean, I remember very early on, like as a teenager, and when I was really troubled and, drowning in my emotions, and I often, and hiding as teenagers do, like feeling all this stuff. And I remember that I was thinking, I wish everyone would know everyone in that depth, everything about everyone. Because if there's nothing to hide, then there's nothing, then you can actually start working on stuff. Well, you can actually go, oh my God, okay, I'm dealing with this thing, and it looks like this, and it feels like this, and it does this with you, and this with you, and so how can we now deal with it, and it's still, it's, as you say, I think we're becoming really transparent now, and it has to be like that, because the veils are lifting, and the only way to go forward is to be more and more transparent.
Morgan and I were talking about this morning. So she woke herself up from a dream. And in that dream, it was very intense, and it was all about truth coming up. And she was witnessing or observing or rewriting or something, as we do these things in our sleep. And it was the women were starting to speak the truth, like the feminine part of us, I guess, which has been the part that's been suppressed. I was connecting that to what you were talking about. Oh yeah, so we were talking about this whole thing, and how I was telling her how 10 years ago when I was on the streets, when my whole thing started, there were 3 things that happened that I remember from that 2-year period. 3 moments. And one of them was, kind of like I Am Soul. That whole download was the first one. But I think it was the second or the third one. And I was walking around one night, 2 or 3 in the morning, just looking around at the stars in the middle of the city, nowhere to go, whatever. And I heard, and of course I was full of trauma, full of things that had just happened, and family and all that, career, money, whatever. And I remember hearing, just understand that anything and everything you've ever done, everyone will know.
Yeah.
And I mean, I went, oh my God.
Yeah, I think
please
I remember.
No. Yeah, I was like, please no. I was like, oh my God, I've had a wild life, and I've really. But then, what happened was what you said. Then they turned it around and said, but wait a minute, you don't understand. Everyone is going to know everything about everyone. And I went, oh, well, that'll be perfect because there's nothing to hide. And then I also understood, well, in order to get to that point, you got to know everything about yourself, which means admitting, being open to those things that you might not, like we were talking about, narcissism or whatever, being open to those things that you don't think you are or don't want to face. Yeah. I was going to ask you, like in your job, and I know it wouldn't be directly something you could put your finger on every time, but I'm just curious, like on a percentage basis, like 80%, 50%, how many of the clients that you've seen over the years that come in, would you say that the traumas eventually come down to some type of sexual distortion, be it abuse or be it just an acting out, like maybe they're a philanderer or whatever? But how much of it do you think comes down to our sacred sexual power distortion?
I think it depends a little bit on what you would define as sexual.
Well, I mean, like creative life force.
Sexual abuse, or
Well,
creative
I think it could be,
distortion.
yeah, obviously, but I mean, like it seems like you trace things, and they come from like the distortion of sexual energy, or the hiding of the distortion. So, like an example would be, and I know a lot of women can probably relate to this. As a child, a young girl gets abused, and the mother or the grandmother or the aunts or the older sibling or somebody knows what's going on, but they don't say anything. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, even though it might look on the surface that, hey, I've got a problem with so-and-so because they didn't do anything, when the reality is, not that that's not an issue, but that the reality is it was the act, the deviance, the distortion.
The boundary crossing.
Right. That actually created the,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I was just curious.
I think in my practice, maybe about 30 to 40%. But I think generally you'll find people who go to therapy, it's probably higher than that.
Yeah.
It's just that the way I work, I usually attract people who are fairly aware already and who are looking for something more. I do also work with an insurance here in New Zealand, which only pays for sexual abuse.
Okay.
But I keep that very low because I currently see 4 clients who come through this insurance just because I find it becomes too much for me to work with it all the time. So I've put that right down. But yeah, I would say in general, people who come to therapy, possibly maybe generally speaking, 60 to 70% even, like not only in my practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And me, it's not necessarily sexual, but the biggest thing is definitely attachment things, in a child.
Yeah.
In a child not getting to live who you really are, and from very early on, that being deviated into this direction or that direction. And to me, that ties into sexual energy on a sort of a broader.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Like, even if it doesn't look like
that
it,
is,
but
I would say almost everyone.
That's what I was That's what I was thinking, because that thwarts, that shrouds our power, regardless of who you are.
Oh yeah. And also generationally, I mean, all the trauma that has been with our ancestors, it's immense. And
it's in our DNA. It's in our DNA. It's in our DNA.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really cool. So now the people that come in, are you seeing more people come in that are waking up and they know they're waking up? You know what I mean? In other words, people that actually come in and say, "Hey,
not so many."
Yeah.
Not so many that are aware of that, but like here in Wellington, I'm right in the CBD, so all the Parliament buildings are around me. So I have quite a few clients who work in government and who come over.
Oh, really? Wow,
so I'm in Wellington with.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. And since COVID happened,
right,
I get a lot of people who are unsatisfied, who went into their jobs with big hopes, wanting to change the world, having graduated as something fantastic, something very green, being hopeful, young, enthusiastic, and then after a year or so realize that they aren't much more than a number.
Right.
That it's all about policies, all about limb research that gets done again and again and again in different ways. There isn't much actual frontline work happening, either in the social sector or in environment politics or whatever. And they get disillusioned and fall into a big hole as to what the fuck am I doing in my life. And so I have a lot of people who are wrestling with that at the moment.
How about
sort of in the last 2 years?
Yeah, and of course, there's been a lot of, a lot of press on, New Zealand. I remember when that lady was put in office, and I remember, me and other people were like, man, I think there was 7 women in Denmark that took some national roles, and then there was a lady in New Zealand, a couple in South America, and wow, the divine feminine's taking positions of authority. But wow, after COVID, that really, turned. But then now she's recently resigned, and I guess there's a change of maybe public opinion. There must be, to some degree, I would imagine. But are you noticing? And obviously be careful anything you say, because I don't want you to get in trouble. But you're working with people that are in the government, a lot of them. And then, of course, you're just out there anyway. Have you noticed anything significant in terms of let's just say, the collective or the community? Are people asking questions? Are they looking at these shadows? Or looking at these untruths? Or, you know what I mean? Like we did with ourselves?
I find it to be quite subtle. I mean, during COVID, I was, very engaged in all the polarity that happened on Facebook and social media. Like, I was right in there for a while, and after noticing that I felt actually played by all sides with whatever big agendas there were, I just pulled right out and thought, nah, fuck this, I'm only gonna trust whatever I feel, following my intuition on things. It was a big learning. And I'm noticing now that people are more cautious generally.
Right.
That the hard stances are softening. That there seems to be, like, just recently, I have made up with a whole bunch of old friends who I basically divorced at the time, or they divorced me, and I've gone back like shaking and fearful. I went back thinking, no, I wanna mend this, because there's no point in the separation. I don't want this. And I found that most of them were very open to that on their side as well. And I think now is a time where people are coming together again. And even, but that's just my surrounding. Like, I'm finding that people, even with very different political views or biases, are making an effort at the moment to be softer and to listen a little bit more. I know that this is not shared by everyone, this impression, but that's me and my surrounding.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I feel I'm super happy about that.
Wow.
Yeah, because it felt like my whole circle of friends was divided in two.
Well, I think there was a lot, and of course, all these initiatives are meant to bring division and separation at the end of the day.
Oh yeah,
and
we all played right into it because it had to heal, it had to come out. That's the stuff that is the stuff that needs to be seen, and is becoming transparent. And for a while, I think, I'm no exception. I was pushing away what I felt wasn't me, and I didn't want it to be me.
Yeah.
And found over time that actually, if I walk in the other person's shoes, when I come from their perspective, their background, their experience, that's understandable that they would come to this conclusion. So who am I to judge the person for that, even though I might disagree completely?
Well, I think that's what the big hurdle that we're having to cross, because of the conditioning, cultural, religious, etc., we go from one belief system to a little bit bigger belief system that contains that and other thing, and and it just keeps going. But really, it's inevitable. Oneness is oneness, and I think part of that oneness is understanding that we've all been through the same thing, and really to stay in your own lane and respect everyone's choices, because we don't know from a soul perspective what they're trying to accomplish. I might incarnate as that cold aspect that you were talking about, right? Like just so I can then get to the end of my life, and when I do my life review, see how I made people feel, or something like that. I mean, we just don't know. But it's becoming very obvious that we're being asked to take it all the way. Like, you can't do oneness 80% of the way. You can't, create like absolutes in the universe that you're creating as part of the flower of life and tell the universe, okay, I'm 90% with you, but this other 10, this is how I want it, and that's just the way it is, and I don't care. Well, this is the I guess the part of the maturity process that we're having to come to terms with, because like you used that word subtle before, the programming and cultural impact and family impact and ancestral. So much of this stuff is not even due to this lifetime. It's due to our previous lifetimes, but really to our collective lifetimes. Yeah. So, it's, but there's really no in between anymore. I think that's really what it's getting down to. That's why, I'm at the point where I'm not going to follow any of these rules. I'd rather just go, because I feel like, attaching to these laws and these stupid rules and boundaries is actually keeping me from expanding my own skills, abilities, and sensitivities.
Like what boundaries are you talking about, or what rules?
Just like go get a driver's license, go get car insurance because you have a car, and that's the law. Whatever hoop they want you to jump through. I mean, I'm looking at, I intend to travel this world without a passport. I intend to not, I don't recognize any borders because there are none. So like, I just feel like that, and that's just for me. I'm not advocating that for anyone else, but I feel like we've done so much work. We're just now starting to give ourselves credit, and it's great to be aware, but what are we going to do with this awareness? Are we going to...
I think that is so interesting what you're raising there, Todd, because I really think that we all have our own reality. Yeah. We all are on different stages on the path. We all have different things that are important to us, and so it shall be. You will be having the life that is real to you. Yeah. And why should it not work out for you in that way, right?
I agree. I like that. I like that a lot.
And I love that thought that we are all walking in our own reality, and there is this strange meeting point that we're having these, and there is certain rules and regulations that we agree to or we don't agree to, or we walk around or whatever, and some are not in it at all anymore. They are sort of in a little bit of a parallel. Well, we all are in parallel existences.
True.
And true. It's absolutely fascinating. It's fascinating. I love it. It's such a hoot. Yeah, and it gives me permission to try out new ideas too. Like what rules do I still find important, and which ones do I feel are obsolete for me but maybe important for someone else, or I see the value in creating some kind of structure and order. And yet I feel I don't need that prescribed structure and order, so what do I do with that bit, Right. So there is relevance. It's important somehow, but maybe not for everyone. So how do I deal with that? Right. And there is no formative overall entity. Well, they would like to think there is, but there's
not one way for
God.
Right, and there's not one way for everyone.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the whole thing about the trying to substantiate our beliefs, our existence. I often ask myself, and I say in my head and I occasionally I'll verbalize it to people, who are you trying to convince? In other words, if I start to tell you about who I am and what I believe, who am I really trying to convince, you or me?
Yeah.
See, and I think things like that is kind of like indicative of where we're at now. Like the universe isn't playing around now. And anyone that's tested karma in the last year knows it comes back really quick now, and it doesn't play any games, and things get really loud if you're not listening. So, we've got a couple of people I'm going to bring on because I'm going to run out of time. But stay here because let's see here. This is Kai.
I have about 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, that's about what I have about 10 minutes because I'm going to go do a session with Morgan. Let's see. Here's another one. Hang on. Okay, hey, who's that? Oh, you're back. Where did you go? Okay. Now this is Kai Phoenix, right? Oh, God, I don't know what
Yes, hi, Todd.
Oh, you're back. Okay, wait a minute. Somebody has their computer on. You hear it? Hello. Somebody.
It could be me.
Here, let me see. I'll tell you in a second.
It's me.
Wait.
I turned the TV off.
Oh, it's Sophia. Okay. All right. So let's say we talked to Sophia. We're going to come back to Sophia, back to Anya. We've got about 15 minutes. So Kai Phoenix, I've seen you out there too for a long time, like the other two. How are you? Where are you located? Oh, she's stuck. Oh, too bad. But look at that smile. She's got a beautiful smile. Kai, if you can hear us, come back in, or same thing that happened with Sophie. Okay. Well, hopefully she'll come back. Look at that smile. We should just leave it on there. Look how big that smile is. And then Sophia, you had something you were talking about when you got cut off. I don't know if you want to kind of like sum it up and how are you doing with everything?
Well, Anja, I wanted to say thank you, and somehow, child, I was with you all and connected with y'all throughout your life. I will say that my stress level has went from like red alert to calm, with all my practices, with my oils, my tea, my breathing, just really coming into the now moment and being present and just feeling this is what I had to do because I was not allowed to go to therapy. I was forbidden. In fact, I couldn't tell teachers and things like that my trauma because I would get punished for it. So what I learned to do with my higher power, with God, with Jesus, with the angels, with ascended masters, is that you feel the emotion like a wave, like a tidal wave coming over you for maybe no more than about 15 minutes, and then you release it. So as I began to break out of the programming and go into come out of domestic violence situations, I would run across therapy therapists and clinical people that were professional. And they would say, how were you able to keep it together all these years? And I would say, well, my coping mechanism is to feel the emotion for about 15 minutes and then release it. And now I don't even let it sit for about 15 minutes, because if I let it sit for about 15 minutes, then I immediately start having physical manifestations in my body with the cortisol, with the adrenaline, with the stress. And then I am not able to pull it together for some time, because then I have symptomatic things. What would you say, Anja? Psychosomatic?
Yeah, sounds like that. I mean, the body is so closely related to our emotions, isn't it, and the nervous system? Yeah, I can very much relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the carotid arteries immediately will flare up and constrict. Then I have my passages will, I don't know what's, okay. My nasal passages will constrict where I can't breathe. So what I do is I use my oils. I use, for instance, say a Young Living, different companies have any kind of oils. Essential oils is very key. For me, water, breathing, being present in the moment. Being present in the moment. I don't like to do a lot of medicinal things, but sometimes I have to, do like a nasal, or I have some things that I just, coping mechanisms. But it's not just coping, it's actually a remedy for that moment. So you breathe in the moment, stay present in the moment, and feel the emotion as if you're in a storm. Like you know that the storm is there and that you need to stay calm, because if you start panicking, you might knock the boat over. It's like you're in a boat. You're out on the water. The water is crashing all around you. And if you stand up and start thrashing, you're going to make everybody in the boat fall over. And we all understand what I'm saying there. So, anyways, just go into your heart space and say, what is this I'm feeling? Why do I feel like this at this moment? I love Lori, Matt. I don't like to drop names and things like that, but all of us on here, we all need resources, and you guys are lifelines. Some of us are kind of remote, and the people don't believe us around us. They don't listen to us, and we really get excited when we meet soul family, and a lot of them have kind of soul imprints that remind us of people that we knew, and they are not the people that we thought they were. And so we get excited, though, when we start sharing our truth, and then they will backlash, and then they will use the system to kind of target us and, make us feel intimidated or threatened that they don't, and they will tell us, they will play along sometimes, and then they will not. I'm not going to get into that because then I'll get off track. But my point is that...
Go ahead. Your point.
Basically, with trauma, what I found, because I'm not a professional, off the record, is that you have to want to get out of the situation. You have to want to break the generational curses, the patternings, and you have to want to remove yourself. That's first and foremost. Is, like they say in certain self-help places you go, acceptance is the key to all problems. So you have to accept that there's a problem in the first place. Then you have to be willing to want to change that. And you have to reach out for help and say, hey, and you type, help me. Somebody call the police, because these people don't believe me.
Your galactic voice was coming through.
Well, it really happened to me. That really happened to me. I actually clicked on some videos recently and stuff,
Yeah, it happens.
Because sometimes Go ahead, Todd. Go ahead.
No, it's just, it's happened. I mean, anyone that's watched the shows over the years, we've had so many weird things happen. I'm not trying to cut you short. I wanted to experiment today and see if we could actually get some new faces on, which we've gotten 3, which I'm very, very pleased with. But I have to go to a session here, and I want all of us to get to know Kai. This is Kai Phoenix, and I've seen you out there. Thank you for coming in. And where are you located, and how are you doing?
Hi Todd. I'm so excited to be here. Wow, like it's just been forever. Sorry, I'm just going to get myself settled.
Yeah.
I'm in Queensland. I'm on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland.
Okay.
Near Noosa. And, but a little bit in the hinterland, a little bit outside of like Noosa.
Well, Morgan was right down. Morgan was right down there, less than a month ago. Noosa, Noosa. What is it? Maryborough, Gympie, Harvey Bay, and then she was down in Brisbane as well.
Yeah, that's all along the Sunshine Coast from Brisbane. The Sunshine Coast is kind of From about Caloundra, which
Yeah.
is an hour north of Brisbane, all the way up to Hervey Bay. Oh, no,
You,
sorry. Harvey Bay might not be the Sunshine Coast, actually.
no,
That
Harvey
might be a
Bay's
different
further. Yeah,
coast.
Harvey Bay's further. But
Right,
you know what's
yeah,
crazy is, it's crazy. If I go to the different pages of Soulogy, and look at
yeah,
the demographics of each one of them, because they're all different. Um, they're all different people. Like there's 120,000 people, and probably 10,000 are on two or more but most of them are just on one page. But when I go to it, if you look
yeah.
at the top 10 cities in the world with Soulogy, 5 of them are in Australia, which is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
we're
don't.
big
I think
here,
I think that there's definitely some light columns of light in the form of human incarnations holding up the light down there, because that's such an important area, and so is New Zealand. And so
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So, and let me just ask you this, and I'm going to be doing this probably again tomorrow, probably around the same time. So if you guys want to come back and we have more time, I didn't know it was going to be this great. I thought it'd be one person maybe, but so let me ask you this, Kai, and then we'll go around one more time. Like, there's been so much
Yeah.
talk. I mean, I don't even know if we have to explain anything about what happened in 2022. It's like everybody took a bath in the ring of fire or something, but 2023 feels a lot different. A lot of people are talking about that, and I'm not saying that that's true for everybody here, but what are your thoughts, Kai, as to
Yeah.
where we're at? Because I think we all know where we've been, but like, where are we at now? What does it look like to you?
Hmm. Well, for me, like I've had to, I'm going through a major reset, like at the moment.
Mm,
So I've taken a step back and a step out of things, like at the moment. So I was so involved in everything in the last 2 or 3 years, and the universe in my will. I'm on rural property, and I'm going through a forced reset, like at the moment.
right.
So I'm doing a lot of channeling with my guides, a lot of channeling with my galactic team, like at the moment, and just trying to get a gist of what is happening and like what's going on. Um, so Torna Takai, the the last time I spoke with my galactic team about because I don't speak to them like often, like I mainly use them to do readings for people, but the last time like I spoke to them about what was going on,
Mm,
is it was that there had been outside interventions, off planet like interventions that were happening, and is it yeah, there's still that battle is still going on, but
mm-hmm.
we're all here like at strategic points, contributing like in our own manner, like in our own way, and I've been told to step away from what's happening and what's going on, and not to get involved, and to focus on my reason, like for being here.
Right.
Yeah.
Beautiful. We're thank you so much. Thank you, all three of you. Let me just tell you this. I'd love to do a show with each one of you individually. So because I'm a one person, and I'll never. If you're interested in that, send me an email to soulogynetwork@gmail.com. soulogynetwork@gmail.com.
Good.
Or if you're on Facebook, send me one on Messenger, Anya, or whoever. Listen, it was beautiful meeting all three of you. I look forward to getting to know you better, and thank you so much for stepping up. Thank you for the work that you're doing on behalf of humanity, and thank you for being real and human and humble and heart open. So thank you so much for making this a great broadcast, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Todd. Really enjoyed that. And
Yeah.
Kai and Sophia, wonderful.